We have the tech to get food delivered in 15 minutes, but we all have horror stories about buying tickets. The Game Time app gives fans the advantage. Get amazing tickets in just a few taps. Fees are included, so what you see is what you pay. And the Game Time guarantee means authentic tickets at the best price every time. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets to concerts, sports, comedy, and more with Game Time. Download the Game Time app and create an account for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply.
In business, there's no room for guesswork. Every shipment matters. Every deadline counts. When you're trying to keep operations running smoothly, the last thing you need is uncertainty. That's why reliability is at the core of USPS Ground Advantage. From the moment your package is first scanned in, it moves through a secure nationwide network, aiding in a timely and accurate delivery. You get near real-time tracking so you can keep up with your shipments. And with affordable upfront pricing, there are no hidden fees or surprise surcharges to throw off your cost sheets. It all adds up to predictable deliveries you can depend on. Because knowing your logistics are handled lets you focus on everything else: your customers, your team, and the future you're building. Visit USPS.com/Ground Advantage to start shipping with confidence. USPS, official shipping sponsor of the NHL.
This is VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
This is Money Moves on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
Kicking off hour 2 here, Money Moves, VSiN, the Sports Betting Network. Stormy Buonantony, Jonathan Von Tobel with you live in downtown Las Vegas. Lots still to come this hour. We're going to preview the weekend of fights that are coming up with VSiN's own Rob Moreno, hosts the First Strike podcast. We got UFC 117 at the Apex here in Vegas, the Jake Paul promotion on Netflix, an 11-fight card, but of course the headliner, Ronda Rousey and Gina Carano in that one. We're going to dive into the NHL, give our reaction to what the Colorado Avalanche did last night as their futures odds just continued to shrink. Plus, of course, the doubleheader tonight and best bets a little bit later on at the end of the show. But to kick off this hour, who better than Dwayne Colucci to join us here on the Progressive Guest Line, manages the Race and Sportsbook over at the Resort and Summerlin, which, Dwayne, I'm still not used to calling it that. I've known it for years and years and years as the Rampart, but I got to say, all the renovations that are done over there are beautiful. You got a great spot that's just gotten even better.
Yeah, I really appreciate that, Stormy. I saw you and your dad floating around over the weekend, and the neighborhood food hall is just amazing. We have so many different options. Nomois is just an incredible addition. 105 years in Manhattan in Chinatown. I actually went to the original Nomois when I lived back in New York in my days, and definitely a great acquisition. Ipazzi is just fabulous. We have tacos, we have smash burgers now for the win, and it's just it's amazing. I'll be honest. The property has a totally new look. You check out our big sign on Rampart Boulevard, and it's just exciting to be a part of the resort at Summerlin.
Dwayne, JVT laughed when you said you saw me and my dad floating around. Like, when I say I love it there, I'm not kidding. We're there all the time. When my dad comes in town, that's where he stays. I know, you've told me. That's what that is the spot, JVT. So, I don't give an endorsement to something if it's not real.
I understand that. No, Richard B. out here. And what's it called? You've told me, so that's why I was laughing, because I can just picture your giant father walking around with you as well. All right, Dwayne, let's talk a little bit about what's coming up this week. Obviously, the schedule release is coming up. So for you guys over there, how do you guys handle it? How is it going to look when it comes to these official schedules being released? What's the plan for you in terms of releasing, whether it's lines, props, everything, and what you have available now?
Well, Caesars JVT is unbelievable. If you check out the Caesars Sports app, we have almost everything available already for the NFL. Season win totals are up. NFL playoffs up. Super Bowl up, MVP odds. We're just totally prepared here at Caesars Sports, even with the schedules being released. And it's a very exciting time as, we start to graduate into the NFL season after the NHL and NBA dust settles. We're starting to get down to the nitty-gritty, especially in the NBA, and we're ready to go, without a doubt. We have some great offerings, some great propositions. We have divisional odds. We have everything you could possibly want. Me and sign up for this fabulous Caesars sports betting mobile app. It's just incredible, and we still have $350 sign-up bonus only at the resort at Summerlin.
That's awesome. And I know in terms of volume, it's night and day in the summertime in the offseason compared to once we actually get these games underway and as we get closer to the Super Bowl in February. But as far as what you guys have right now, any early liability or some bets that have come in the futures market, like even this early at this point in the offseason?
You know who.
Oh, no. Hopefully we can reconnect with Dwayne. Got a little bit of
plus 750 at the resort at Summerlin and Caesar Sports. Also, we have the Seattle Seahawks at plus making money as they did last year. Very similar. They were very popular last year, Stormy, at the betting windows, and they continue to be. Everybody wants to see Josh Allen succeed and get off the schneid, and I think that a lot of Raven money came in when they started to see Lamar Jackson participating in these voluntary workouts. That is very important for Baltimore, especially with a coaching change there, a huge coaching change, and we're starting to see a lot of flashes of Baltimore Ravens money. Maybe this year is their year.
I think we're going to try to disconnect and reconnect with Dwayne real quickly just so that we can get the connection crisp. But I find that pretty interesting, JVT, especially Buffalo. Year after year after year, we are always wondering if this is finally going to be it for Josh Allen and the Bills. Are they going to get over the hump and taking early money even in the offseason?
Yeah, I think they're going to be a pretty popular selection, given the changes in the offseason as well. They look like they're going to be somewhat improved. That would be the assumption. So I do wonder, injuries have been a big part of their story over the last couple of seasons, especially on defense. So if you can get a little bit better injury luck as you move along as well, that would probably help out. And Allen's got to be better in certain situations too. That playoff loss was pretty rough considering the turnovers, especially right before the first half in that contest. There were a lot of issues that popped up for him there too.
I know we talked about it a bit when Jesse Minter was hired over there in Baltimore, but another one that I find interesting, just buying in on the Ravens first year after John Harbaugh is no longer there. Do you have any big picture thoughts on the expectations for the Ravens?
I don't know. I have hesitancy overall with the AFC North. I think it's a much more wide open division than we think it is right now.
And we do have Dwayne back on the line. Appreciate it. Sorry, it's never fun when technology gets in the way of a good conversation, Dwayne. But let's push it forward to some of the postseason action that we have going on right now. And obviously, we've got two games in the NHL tonight: Sabres and Montreal going head to head, as well as a potential closeout game for the Vegas Golden Knights against the Ducks. And maybe let's start there as a Vegas book. Are you getting Vegas support even on the road tonight?
Yeah, Vegas is definitely going to be in tough. I'll be honest with you, Stormy. It's going to be very difficult for them to win again. That was a difficult win the other night. Just a credit to, Dorofeyev and definitely the rest of the team. Mitchell Marner is playing off the hook, but Dorofeyev has been the stir that's stirring the drink ever since Mark Stone went down with the injury. And, it's so tough to lose your captain, go out on the road and succeed again. So I think it's definitely a difficult spot, but it's achievable. Definitely we're starting to see Lucas Doxtel play at a high level, but Carter Hart is actually outplaying him, in my opinion. And that was a huge game, a huge overtime victory the other night. And they're going to need a lot of, pressure from Gauthier and some of the other players. Seneke has been fabulous, one of the best rookies I've seen to come out in a long time. He's just a playoff primetime performer, and that definitely helps. But will Ryan Pelling be able to play? I doubt it. He was concussed and has had a series of concussions in his career. So, that takes away from your third-line center and definitely makes you a little short, just like the Golden Knights with Mark Stone. So we're going to see how Vegas reacts. I think they definitely could close it out, but I think Anaheim might be the side tonight. Close it out in the Fortress, and everybody will be happy here in Vegas.
And, Dwayne, I did see that Joel Quenneville said Ryan Poehling will be out tonight. So, yes, a big hole up the middle for them. Go ahead, JVT.
What about across the way in the other conference in Montreal and Buffalo? Sabres are a short favorite at home, Dwayne. Anything notable here in terms of action? What do you think might play out on the ice?
Yeah, we're still seeing Montreal action, JVT, and I like that. I'm a Montreal Canadian guy. So we're only at 115 at Caesar Sports here with the Sabres minus at home, and definitely that was a tough game the other night. tough for the Montreal Canadiens to swallow with that goal. That you're only going to see a goal like that every 50 years, JVT, bouncing off of stanchions, off of the, the glass, and then behind Jacob Dovich. So, I'm not sure what to make of it. I don't think Buffalo really outplayed Montreal. I think Montreal shot themselves in the foot with that terrible power play. I mean, you have 7 opportunities, and it just looked at times that Slavkovsky, Demidov, and Suzuki were lost. Cole Caulfield is starting to feel it, so you really have to feed this guy, and it would help if Demidov could break the schneid, get a goal, and, it moved Montreal forward and into that position to win at home. I think the Canadians have a tremendous shot. I think Lindy Ruff made all the right decisions, changing the goalie, bringing in some youth, and it definitely rattled the Canadians a little, but I can't really say that Montreal was seriously outplayed. They were on the power play constantly. This is a rough series, a lot of high sticks. You're seeing a lot of bad calls, a lot of missed calls. It's going to be an exciting game tonight in Buffalo. I'm really looking forward to it.
In terms of Stanley Cup futures, we see the Canes, they get another sweep, so they've been just waiting in the wings for whoever wins this series. And then Colorado last night closes out the Wild in wild fashion, to say the least, the way that they came back. Does it feel like it's a collision course potentially between those two? Or if not Colorado, Carolina, who else could make it into the big competition?
Well, I think Colorado is very solid, Stormy. You saw that. That comeback definitely stamped them, put them on the map. They have a great goalie tandem. You have Cale Makar there. You have McKinnon. You have so many different options. And definitely they are the best team in the NHL, in my opinion. Now, Carolina, they ran the table so far, dominant in the Eastern Conference in the regular season, but they have yet to win when it gets to this championship round. Let's see if they could beat Montreal or Buffalo. Montreal was very successful in the regular season against them, and I would definitely welcome that challenge. I think Montreal is the team that could beat the Hurricanes. Mm-hmm. I'm not sure if Vegas or Anaheim could beat Colorado at this stage of the game, but anything's possible. You know how it is in the Fortress, Stormy. Glass giving us the updates. It could get crazy there, and if they start to feel that momentum, and Marner, Eichel, Dorofeyev, Barbashev will start to get going and get a little defensive help, Vegas is very they have a lot of
unfortunately, we missed the connection again there at the end with Dwayne, but completely understand what he's saying, and there would be a lot of Stanley Cup experience on the ice together should it end up being Colorado, Vegas, like at least the odds indicate right now.
I'm not going to do it.
Just do it.
This is going to be my oldest old man take ever. Okay, are you ready for this?
I'm ready.
What do we pay for? Okay, you know how many dead spots I run into around town here when I'm driving on my cell phone? You know how many times my signal gets out? What am I paying for, right? Because if I miss a payment, I'm screwed. Well, you can screw up all the time. Just come on.
No,
it's my oldest old man take ever.
I'm with you. It's 2026. How do we even have these issues?
And anymore? I know where the dead spots are. That's the annoying part. I know which parts of town where I'm coming up. It's ridiculous.
Such great insight from Dwayne too. It's unfortunate, but
I'm supposed to listen to Taylor Swift if my signal continues to break up.
Go check him out in Summerlin. It's the spot to be.
So you're listening to this podcast because you want an edge. But what if I told you you're only halfway there? You've got the mindset. Now it's time to get the toolkit to match. Here's the thing. Pro bettors spend thousands on data and tools. But what they don't want you to know is that you can get the same edge for a fraction of the cost with VSiN Pro. VSiN Pro gives you access to expert picks, public betting data, prop projections, powerful tools, analytics, and more. Just tap the link in the description and see why thousands of bettors are already using VSiN Pro to cash more bets.
We have the tech to get food delivered in 15 minutes, but we all have horror stories about buying tickets. The Game Time app gives fans the advantage. Get amazing tickets in just a few taps. Fees are included, so what you see is what you pay. And the Game Time guarantee means authentic tickets at the best price every time. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets to concerts, sports, comedy, and more with Game Time. Download the Game Time app and create an account for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply.
You're watching Money Moves here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
The sports calendar never stops, and the Sharp Plays is covering it all. They've been winning for 15 straight years, all of it documented, logs posted publicly as well at sharpplays.com. And in this industry, we know that kind of transparency is rare. When the Sharp Plays move, the sportsbooks take notice. Advanced AI, trusted insider intel, they find value before the numbers move. Start winning with them at sharpplays.com. Stormy Buonantony, Jonathan Von Tobel with you back here on Money Moves. And we've got a big Game 6 coming up tonight in Anaheim as the Vegas Golden Knights have an opportunity to potentially close out the series. Can they do it is another question. They are slight favorites on the road, but pretty much a pick'em game here. They're minus 112, Anaheim minus 108. The goal total sitting 6.5, and we were talking about last segment with Dwayne Colucci how Mark Stone remains unavailable for the Vegas Golden Knights. Braden McNabb going to be out tonight as well after the interference penalty suspension he took for that hit on Ryan Poehling in Game 5. First suspension,
crazy,
by the way, of his 14-year NHL career.
I just don't understand. Again, smarter hockey people than I, including you, would be able to describe this to me in a way that makes some sense. But I will go back to, there was the Wild game, right? How shoving the butt of your stick in the face of your opponent is just two minors, and yet a play within the flow of a hockey game is a 5-minute major and subsequent suspension.
Yeah.
I don't get it. I don't get it at all.
Well, and I think like a lot of the rationale for why it was the major and why it was the now suspension has to do with two things. One, Poehling not having the puck. And so that's a part of it. But in my mind, watching it in real time and even the replays, I think if you're Braden McNabb, you think like he has the puck around him and that it's going to him and then he probably kicked it off his feet, but he's not looking down, he's looking up. So
what is this, the NBA?
I don't know.
Soft.
And then the subsequent snapping his head back, which is out of Braden McNabb's control, right? Like how Poehling's body reacts to it is he snaps his head back. He is a guy with a concussion history. He has had multiple. He wears the tinted visor because of it. And there is an injury that comes from it. And so this is what the Department of Player Safety said. McNabb delivered a late hit with, quote, considerable force against a player ineligible to be hit that resulted in injury. Said that the penalty and Poehling's injury, but also paired with McNabb's clean discipline history, is why it's just one game. So take that for what it is. I bring all of this up, though, to say that is massive for the Vegas Golden Knights penalty kill. Specifically. And like both of these are veteran leaders. Mark Stone is like, he's the guy that the team goes when he goes, even when he's healthy and on the ice, but not playing like himself. It's been a problem for Vegas in the past. So not having him is significant. And then Braden McNabb, like these are two of the elite penalty killers for the Vegas Golden Knights. And knowing that Anaheim has kind of found their streak now the last couple games, being able to click on the power play, that would be something that would concern me.
That to me is the point to make here, is that finally you're finally starting to revert to the mean. They were killing every single penalty, and they were getting away with it since the beginning of this series. And now you're starting to see that you can't just keep doing that. In Game 4, Anaheim went 2 of 4 on their power play opportunities. They went 1 of 2 in the game in Vegas here the other night. By my math, that's 50% so far over the last 2 games. So, are you going to be able to continue to hit at that rate? Maybe over the short sample size, possibly. But you just can't expect that you're going to continue to do this with some of the key missing personnel that you have out there on the ice for Vegas. So I actually thought, going back to this last game, which is why it was such a big one. I mean, you talk about McNabb getting ejected in that game because of the 5-minute major, the power play goal that you gave up, the Orfiev getting hurt. Like that was actually a really missed opportunity for Anaheim because that was a shorthanded group that you're talking about for Vegas throughout the majority of that game. You still couldn't pull that victory off, and now you've got to stave off elimination on your home ice. But everything situationally and everything you're going over in terms of personnel, and just the way this game is being played or the series is being played, the market has had this respect for Vegas throughout this entire series. But again, no Stone, no McNabb. I feel like Anaheim deserves to be slightly favored at home at the very least.
I think so, too. But again, I think this is just a market respect thing.
Sure.
And we saw Vegas against Utah as well when it came to a Game 6 on the road, being able to close it out. So maybe there's some of that built into this as well. What I will say, though, especially with Stone out of the lineup, John Tortorella has been very open about challenging Jack Eichel to an extent to be more aggressive, and we really saw that show up in the last game. Yeah. He's tied only behind his teammate in Mitch Marner in points in the postseason right now. Marner's got 16 to lead all players in the NHL. He's got 15, but just 1 goal. And Tortorella wants him to drive offense. We saw him 6 shots on goal the other night with an additional 4 combined shots that were either blocked or missed. This after having 7 combined shots on goal the previous 5 games, none in game 4. Yeah. So I would be interested in looking at Eichel shots on goals prop, maybe the points over 1.5, something along those lines, because he has been a producer, but Torts is asking him to do more without Mark Stone out there, talking about the best players need to be front and center, specifically mentioning Jack to us. So I think that's something to keep in mind. If this thing does go 7, it will be on ESPN Saturday afternoon. Make sure you check it out. It'll be myself, Kevin Weeks, and Bob Wischusen. So selfishly, I am kind of hoping that we get another game. That would be fun out here in Vegas for sure.
That'd be cool. Oh, by the way, Eichel over 2.5 for the game, over -175 in terms of shots on goal, if you wanted to go in that direction. And obviously you can play alternates, things like that. If you wanted to go just points, 2+ points, +150, somewhere in that range.
I like that.
For Eichel. And the over-under for him for the game, 1.5 points over +154.
Beautiful. Maybe even an anytime goal. Like I'm curious what that would be, because the dude was firing last game to a level that we haven't seen him do. And I think that's going to be another emphasis tonight.
What do you think about the total? Last game went under and obviously still went to overtime. Wes Reynolds was on with us earlier in the week. He had the under in that game. Now here we have 6.5 shaded to the under at -122. I would kind of lean a little under again as well, given the way that these games have been played. The fact that we've seen Anaheim's strategy here is pepper you with not low danger, but just not as effective shots. Obviously lost out on the expected goals battle last time out because of the low danger ability of those shot attempts on net. So maybe you're going to get another one of these games where it's going to be like that. And obviously as it gets tighter, and if you're Anaheim, I would assume you don't want an open and free-flowing game. You want this thing to be a little bit tighter. I
think this game will be played very similarly to last game. Yeah. And I agreed with Wes when we had him on anyways with the under. What are you making that
Sorry,
face
I shouldn't be doing that.
No, you're fine.
The market, I have the screen up on the NBA #1 overall pick, and AJ Debonsa just went down to under $3.
Just keep it going.
I'm just here. I mean, we've talked about it. And
we did.
That is, I think I'm going to end up being right at the very least when it comes to the pricing here.
Very interesting. But yeah, I do lean under again tonight, although maybe you don't want to tail me on a total after what happened last night. So I got so lucky on I got so lucky on the Avs total in game 4. And then I got in game 5. It's puck luck works out sometimes and sometimes it doesn't. And yesterday it wasn't in my favor on the under 6.5. We underbetters for the last 2 games in that series, like, you deserved better. And I was on the winning side with an over that I didn't deserve on one of them, and I got the loss I probably didn't deserve last night. But to go to that game, actually, here the last couple minutes, I want to play some sound from Jared Bednar after the game yesterday, because he was asked essentially about the expectations of this team and how they handle it, and I loved his response.
How would you rather have it? Like every year I've been here after my second year, it's like cup or bust, cup or bust. Well, we've won 1 cup. It's hard to win. Okay. That's number 1. But I wouldn't want it any other way. I don't think our players would want it any other way. I don't think the players that join our team at the deadline, the guys that have been here for years, would want it any other way. Now, you're leaving yourself open to a lot of criticism because it's always just like cup or bust, and every time you lose in the first round, second round, whatever it is, people are going to get on you because you didn't win the cup. But I'd still rather be fighting for that, like having earned that type of reputation because of the way you play through the regular season and the group that you put together as an organization and the high expectations, rather than, let's just try and make the playoffs,
And, I mean, look at the odds right now for them to win the Western Conference. They don't even know their opponent yet, and they're -240 favorites. Yeah. To win the Cup, it's down to +130. McKinnon, we've talked about these odds a lot for Conn Smythe, down to just +200 right now as well. But I still kind of think it's bettable at that number, and it's the better between the 2 bets in terms of if you're trying to bet Colorado. 16 different players for the Avs scored goals just in this series. They have so much depth at every level. It's ridiculous, JVT. Even Brett Kulak last night plays overtime hero with the game winner to win this thing 4-3. It's his first goal since January and the second of the season. They're getting it from him. They're getting it from everywhere.
Yeah, look, they're a really good group, and obviously we've talked about them being almost unbeatable at times. I will say there was a few games in this series against Minnesota, and you've talked about it a lot. The Wild are maybe a good team, so maybe it's not a flaw, but a lot of these games where you gave up double-digit high danger chances at even strength, and we're hanging out the lumberyard. hanging the lumberyard out to dry to an extent in between the pipes, but they're a very good team. And and it sounds like you're splitting hairs when I'm bringing that up, but you have to when you're talking about a team at this level. And if we're going to visualize a scenario in which they lose, whether it's in the next round or whether it is in a Stanley Cup final, I would assume it's in a series in which your opponent is doing just that, generating a bunch of high danger chances against two goaltenders, whoever it is, that clearly Bednar there has some questions about what he's going to do with.
Yeah. And I really I feel for Minnesota Wild fans. I feel for John Hines, who's, life as a head coach is in question right now. Kirill Kaprizov, the $17 million man, you lead the team in points during the playoffs, but you don't have a single shot last night, and you had the opportunity to take one for the game winner, and you pass. Unacceptable in my mind. Okay, we will be right back on Money Moves. So much more to come on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
You're watching Money Moves here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
Rolling along on this Thursday edition of Money Moves, VSiN, the Sports Betting Network. Stormy Buonantony, Jonathan Von Tobel with you. Excited to get into what's going to be a pretty busy fight weekend, specifically Saturday, as Rob Moreno joins us here in studio at Circa Resort and Casino, co-host of the First Strike podcast with our guy Dave Ross. And I figured last week when we have Dave on, Rob, I asked him and brought up your model and your article so many times that we just might as well get you on the show too. So how are you doing?
I'm great. Thank you for bringing that up. I'm always back there listening, so thank you for mentioning it.
Are you actually listening?
No.
I was going to say, I have questions about the crew in general at times that probably don't really listen to many things that we say or do in here.
We're listening. We may not be paying attention.
I feel like you chime in more about like our food takes or like what we're talking about in commercial breaks more than actually on the air.
Yes, we're probably listening more during the breaks than we are.
Well, my running thought also is that you guys have many colorful thoughts about us as talent in general that you would never really share with us.
You used to be behind the camera as well,
so
he just knows.
I'm a man of the people, I like to connect with everybody.
I need to put a Ring doorbell back there. That's what I need. Motion sensitive.
We'd be fired. We don't have HR. We're fine.
All right, so I have to ask you just the general thought. I know we'll get to the betting stuff, but I have been of the mindset that this MVP card, they have not marketed it well. Like, it doesn't look like it's got a lot of traction. Obviously, it's fight week, so we're seeing them pop up more. Rousey was on, I think, with McAfee, and we're seeing Carano make some appearances. But the general excitement for this, the general desire as an actual MMA guy, like, I enjoy MMA, but I'm not like you. Just where are you at with this card as we are here now for this week?
I'm very mid temperature on the whole situation. I had to double check it was actually this week as I was entering the week. Because you're right, there hasn't been a ton of promotion, they did an open workout this week. They did a couple interviews with Ariel Helwani this week, which, if you want a good laugh, watch Nate Diaz and Mike Perry interview each other.
They interviewed each other?
Well, Ariel Helwani's in the middle, but I mean, anyways.
I'm gonna save this for off the air because it's somewhat inappropriate, but it very much reminds me of an old video that I watched on the internet way back in the day that I will tell you, and I think it's gonna hit perfectly.
It probably will. But you're right. Leading up to it, they did a couple press conferences, but that's about it. And it's been a lot of Ronda back in the spotlight, and I'm not trying to knock that, but it feels like that's what the whole attention is. It's just Ronda's back. Ronda's got some opinions about the UFC, so let's put her out there. I've yet to hear a lot from Gina, which is interesting, considering she was probably the first star in women's MMA before women's MMA was that popular. But it's an interesting show nonetheless.
I know JVT is very ageist, so I feel like you'll respect this question. The fact that, Rousey's 39, Carano's 43. What type of fight are you expecting that we really get out of Carano specifically?
So that's something very curious I've been about the whole situation because we haven't seen them and I wrote down their last few fights. It's been, I believe, 9.5 years, almost 10 years since Ronda Rousey stepped in the octagon. And it's been almost 17 years since we saw Gina Carano actively fight. And both of them ended on TKO losses. They both ended their careers kind of on a low. I kind of like to call this the Fast and Furious Bowl as well because it's Gina Carano and Ronda Rousey who both starred in Fast and Furious movies. So shout out the crew. I know they like that movie. But their age is a huge factor because it's not like they took a break from the sport, right? It's not like they had a year off due to injuries or anything like that. They physically retired from being an active athlete. Now they're still athletic. I'm not going to knock that. I mean, they could definitely destroy anything I ever do. But 44 years old, 39 years old, you're talking almost 20 years of inactivity for two. I mean, I know Ronda was in the WWE, but I don't know if that counts. There might be some cardio there. There's a lot of questions. I know they're at least prepped to go in there and do this fight. Everyone looks great in the gym. That's always the hype thing. You know, Gina Carano's out there, and her coaches are saying she's hitting harder than she's ever hit. They're saying Ronda's judo is sharper than it's ever been. Everyone's always like that.
Yep.
That's always the hype. Is it true? I have no idea. I hope so, for the sake of MMA and for the sake of the fans, because I know there's going to be a lot of curious minds that are going to tune in. I hope we get a better product than what I have in my mind.
So my question is going to be, because you mentioned the tail end of their careers. Look, Carano, I was a senior in high school the last time Carano fought. So
That's crazy.
I don't have relax. I'm only 35.
I have a nephew.
I mean, I must have been a sophomore.
I have a
then.
nephew who's 21. He probably only knows Gina Carano as an actress from the
Yeah.
Fast and Furious movie.
The Mandalorian
Funny.
lady. So my question is, because for Ronda, I guess the way I'll phrase this is the end of her career was very much a choice in the way that she went out.
Yeah.
She knocked out Betch Correia, and then herself, right? And then herself and her crew thought that she could stand and bang. And then she got destroyed by Holmes. She got destroyed by Nunez. Do you think she makes the same mistake, or do you think she comes out and actually plays her game in this fight?
So we talked about it last week. I think her coaching was a huge part of her downfall kind of at the end of her UFC career. I think she was also halfway out. You see her in that Nunez fight. She wasn't fully invested, but I think me and Dave talked about it on First Strike. Check it out. Available now. Also airing on Fridays at 8 p.m. on VSiN.
Nice. Look at that. 8 p.m. What time zone? Pacific?
Pacific.
Thank you.
Yes.
Okay.
You tested me. I
Gotta
almost got that wrong. But we talked about it, how I don't think Netflix wants the product that's going to end in 2 minutes, 3 minutes, the way Ronda Rousey fights. I'm not calling shenanigans. I'm not saying that.
I will. I said it to her yesterday.
Yeah,
How many of the Paul
He
fights
did.
have we seen? Right? The boxing matches where, Joshua, the Joshua fight, he could have crushed him early on, and instead he just sat there and patted and pawed, and then was like, oh, okay, let me go win this fight really quick, and then just landed with a body shot and ended it.
So that's actually, look, if you're going to bet this fight, don't bet it seriously. Bet it knowing, hey, this is like a D-Gens only type of event here. We're looking at the over because the odds are, everything's set up for Ronda to finish this really quick. I believe the round props at 1.5, juice to the under.
Mm-hmm.
All you got to do is survive those 2.5 minutes, because I think they do extend it the first round to kind of give the people a show. No one's seen them in 17 plus years. Like I said, not calling shenanigans. JVT will for me,
will.
but I think they'll at least want to give a little bit of a show.
Or specifically round at which it finishes, you could do that. So second round, if you want to go exacta, something like that. That's the way I was going to play it for funsies, because I'm with you. I know you're not all the way there, but I'm sorry, I don't buy it.
I was laughing a little bit as well coming out of last weekend. Sean Strickland obviously gets the upset and it's all this big news. But he, when it came to the Rousey Carano fight, talked about how women are too empowered and he had no interest in this fight at all. And then he apparently reached out because he wanted tickets and he wanted to go after all.
Of course.
There you go.
Of course.
But there was one other fight though on this 11 card though, 11 fight
Match,
card
bout,
rather.
yeah.
Forgive me. God,
okay.
hockey on the brain. But you brought up Nate Diaz and Mike Perry. Anything stand out to you about that matchup?
So the complete opposite. So in those interviews, Nate Diaz didn't even know it was a 5-round fight. This is an interview that took place this week.
So
and you watch him at the open workouts they held on the beach, which, beautiful scenery. It's California, all that stuff. He's out there smoking weed, just kind of sparring with the cameraman for some reason. These guys, I don't believe they're fully serious. I'm actually surprised Mike Perry is the favorite as much as he is, considering this is an MMA fight, not a boxing match. But without picking a side, because I don't believe this is going to be a pretty fight, it's the opposite side where the total is set at 4.5. I like the under in that because I don't think these guys are actually ready to go out there and put on 5-minute rounds together.
Yep. Yeah, I would totally agree. All right, really quickly. Actually, I'm curious because we're coming up. It's going to be in a little less than a month. But the Freedom card is coming up in the UFC. We don't need any official bets or anything, but I've heard a lot about the setup here in terms of it being outside, the steps that the UFC is having to take to make sure that this is going to be safe, a slick mat, things that you have to put around the octagon to potentially make it so that you could fight out there. What are your expectations for this?
I'm holding all expectations.
Okay, all right.
I've heard from people who work with the UFC that logistics have kind of been an issue that they don't want to talk about. So we'll see. I mean, hey, they blew my mind when they did the Sphere. I'm hoping it's visually great. It's a very short fight card, so they got to do something to kind of wow the crowd when we get there. I think the fighters will do their part, don't get me wrong, but obviously the whole thing, the spectacle is the rest of the view.
Do you have anything for UFC 117 at the Apex this weekend?
Yeah, actually, very small card for me. Usually these Apex events are kind of thin on data.
Sure.
I rely on a lot of data for my model. But down on the prelims, I do like one of the female fighters, Alice Ardelin. She fights Polyana Viana. Not exactly the two best fighters we have out there, but Polyana Viana's her stats are just really low for what I look for in a fighter. She probably has a better strength of schedule, but she hasn't done much with it. She's 4-7 in the UFC. Alice is 2-2. I'm not saying she's overly impressive, but there's a lot of metrics that I like to look at. There's something called expected rounds won, very similar to expected goals, maybe in soccer or in hockey. Ardelin's up at 73%. So she's done the most. Even in losing fights, she's found ways to win rounds, win on scorecards. Viana's down at 45%. Anything below 50, I kind of red flag it. Now, Ardelin's stats are all striking, and her output is absolutely through the roof. Viana's just very low output. And I always say if someone has very low output, usually below 3 significant strikes per minute, they better do something extremely well somewhere else. I don't think Viana has that. So Ardelin, she's a little juiced up, minus 210. I think I saw her this morning, minus 200 early in the week. But her prop by decision is only minus 110. I think that's a fair way on what, for me, is a small betting card. I'll probably look to that. It's a thin card, thin data, and it's a busy MMA weekend.
Yeah, we only have 40 seconds because I would love to get into the development of MMA analytics and how far it's come and how accurate you think it is.
I would love to come on and talk about it some other time.
That just means we have to have another spot on the books.
I think
Perfect.
so. I mean, you know me. I think that stuff's pretty interesting. So.
Good reminder too, Rob, ahead of like all of these major events, has an article that he puts up on vsin.com, discusses the model results and the favorite plays each and every event as well. So if you go to vsin.com/subscribe right now, you can get in there, get unlimited access to everything we do. Plus, we got a discount when you use the code PRO. You get VSiN Pro for the discounted rate. Check it out today, vsin.com/subscribe. Rob, we so appreciate you. Not only
you
what you're doing for us, but obviously back of house and everything. You're a rock star, dude.
Always.
Thank you. We'll be right back here on Money Moves. Best bets coming up after this.
Love you.
You're watching Money Moves here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
If you're looking for live streaming and replays from nearly any thoroughbred, harness, or greyhound track out there, check out RTN.TV, the racetrack television network. RTN has more HD content than any other streaming service and is available on TVs, PCs, tablets, smartphones, Roku, and Amazon Fire TV right now. Just head over to RTN.TV and enter the promo code VSIN. That's VSIN. That'll get you your first 5 days free as well. And of course, we're very into the horse racing these days. We're in Triple Crown season, although we won't actually get a Triple Crown winner, unfortunately, or even an attempt at this rate because of Golden Tempo. However, Preakness Stakes coming up this weekend. Should be fun. If you haven't caught all of the great action that we have here at the network, Mike Somich and company just always completely dialed in. VSiN at the track, all of the work that he does daily anyways. But make sure you check out Mike Somich and on X as well. SamaBomb18 does a great job with all of that coverage there. We're going to get into a little bit more hockey conversation here because I looked at the rundown, JVT, and I see you and I both have Canadians money line today.
Yes, we do. Yes, we do. What?
Very excited.
Yeah, why are you looking at me like you caught me something?
I feel like we're just never like-minded, and I can't. When's the last hockey bet
you
made?
exaggerate a lot. We are way more like-minded than you think.
When's the last hockey bet
We
you
have a
made?
similar outfit today. I was mad at you because you stole my white shoes, white top combo the second I walked in.
I feel very uncomfortable in this shirt. I don't know if I'll wear it again. This might need to.
You look very chefy.
This might need to go. It does. I said that as soon as I walked out to you in the parking lot today. I was like, I feel like I look like I could be running a kitchen.
I expect you to scream at me, call me a female dog, and tell me to hurry up or something like that. You know, that really wonderful culture that you have in kitchens from time to time?
Hit a bell, something like that.
Or maybe hit me. That's what chefs do.
It's only my dream. No.
I'll give you a free shot in the chops if you want to.
No, absolutely. I would never. Despite all of the talk about how mean I am from that G-Bank commercial, I do not resort to physical violence.
I will say this really quickly because we're on that topic. I am of the belief, and I'd be interested to see if our crew has experienced this, I am of the belief that everybody in their life should be punched in the face at least once.
Whoa.
Because I think it's a good life experience. I think it brings you back down to earth. So I have been punched in the face before. Have you ever been punched in the face?
I have not been punched in the face.
It explains a lot.
My brother did throw me into a lamp in my youth, though, which is.
I feel like Justin's been punched in the face. I mean, that's a given, correct? You're from Philly, yeah.
And when
you just, in Philly, aren't you born and they punch you in the face like the second you come out?
He said a couple times. The other thing, so I mean, I was tortured. I had an older brother. I was tortured, so I think I at least was, bullied at home. But back when we thought that WWF was real, and he would do
like last week?
all of the Stone Cold Steve Austin just crushing me moves. So I feel like I've had a fair amount of torture. No,
no. I mean that's
but
fine.
No, I've never been punched in the face, and
punched.
I never want to be. That's my 11-year-old sister, or I guess she's 12 now. My 12-year-old sister's gotten in
Generally
more fights than I ever have. It's insane.
Good for her. See, she's a well-rounded veteran.
She's toughening up.
Yep. But yes, we're like-minded in our thoughts for hockey.
Before we look forward, though, I probably should have done this because I know everybody back of house is probably mad at me. Let's recap the bets from yesterday real quickly. I had a loser.
I think they're used to it at this point.
Fair. I had a loser on the Avs Minnesota under 6.5. Deserved better, but it is what it is. And it's the worst case scenario, right? Because at the end of this game, you're hoping, okay, maybe I can just get an empty netter for Minnesota and pull this away. Instead, you get the disastrous 3-3 with Nathan MacKinnon, which is a freaking awesome shot, by the way. Unbelievable. Did want to give a shout out to our guy, Will Hill, who is going to be joining us tomorrow on the show as well. He bet an overtime parlay with the game last night and then the Ducks Golden Knights game the other night. So it was near 16-1 that he cashed on that. So kudos to you. Sad loser for me, though, yesterday. You went 2-1, though.
Should have been.
You had a sad loser, too. You should have had a clean sweep.
I was about to drop an F-bomb. I dislike these first fives at times, and that's not the F-bomb I was going to drop. So let's throw it up really quickly. So the three that I had, Cavaliers plus 4.5 to win the game outright. Nationals money line plus 140 win in extras. Pirates minus the half run first five minus 130. They're up, I believe, 3-0 going into the fifth. You just got to get me 3 outs. They give up a 6 spot. Not particularly great, so end up losing there, but could have gotten done. Like you said, 2-1, small profit. We'll take it as you kind of grind away here. So a solid day yesterday. It did look like it was going to be ugly at first because all three of them looked like they were going to be dead in the water, but we will move on and persevere as we usually do.
We're both on Montreal money line, so let's discuss this last. Actually, I know you have a handful of other plays that you have added to the account, so we can discuss the why between the Canadians in a bit, but what else do you have tonight?
All right, so Stormy's got Montreal money line plus 102 versus Buffalo. For me, I've got the same thing, and then we'll go Cavaliers minus 3.5, minus 115. Close them out. I refuse to back down now. I have been given some support by the Cleveland Cavaliers. I've been consistent, have I not? Even down 2-0.
You have.
I have said, let's just wait to see what happens when we get back to Cleveland. There's still some things you can work on. Very quietly, they've been chipping away. They've won these 3 straight. Harden is starting to get a little bit more comfortable with Mitchell. They're understanding how to play off of Sar Thompson. You look, I didn't bring this up. Cade Cunningham had a near 40-point triple-double yesterday, and they lost the game. That's not what you want, because that means you're going back to what you talked about. They put Max Strus on Cade, and they said, we don't care. We will take Cade having a big game as long as nobody else beats us. I think the Cavs are starting to figure this thing out, and finally they had the shooting performance. I think they close it out. I'll be consistent here. Let's go, Cleveland. I've added 2 in the NBA draft, although, as we mentioned, these have moved already. At least one of them has. Darren Peterson, first overall pick at about 3-1 plus 310. I, again, will refuse to budge here. I think talent-wise, he is the best player in this draft. I think a lot of the market and the way that it is shaped is based on the perception that he is lazy and doesn't care, and it is all misinformed. He is a very good and very talented player that has widely been regarded the best player in this draft for a very long time. But media, social media, has kind of curved that expectation. I don't think that's true. Peterson's going to be the first overall pick. And with that, we'll tie it together. AJ Debonsa, third overall pick, 25-1. I think there's a reality in which this happens. Peterson goes first. Carlos Boozer, father of Cam Boozer, star of commercial about that cell phone that has a privacy screen on it now. He is in the front office for the Utah Jazz. I don't think it's unrealistic either that the Jazz look at Boozer, who had a great combine, who's actually a really solid player, who our own Zach Cohen actually believes is the best player in this draft. He goes 2. Debonsa ain't slipping farther than 3. But I think in terms of the number, there's a higher shot than 25-1 that he ends up being the third overall pick. So Debonsa going third, 25-1.
Love it. In case you're just tuning in or you missed some of that breakdown, these picks will also be available, as they are each and every day, VSiN.com/picks. We've got a full page of all of our VSiN show hosts and guests' favorite selections on a daily basis. To go back to the NHL doubleheader tonight, I'm not allowed to have anything in Ducks Golden Knights, but We talked earlier, kind of like a lean to the under potentially in what is a potential closeout game for the Vegas Golden Knights. I feel like people in Vegas are going to hate me for this because I am a former Rinkside reporter for the Golden Knights, but I am selfishly hoping that Anaheim wins tonight so we can get a Game 7 here in Vegas that I can be on the call for.
So you can
That's
wander,
just a broadcaster work selfishness
so you
thing,
can
okay?
traipse through the halls of T-Mobile, and how you should have seen it, folks, walking through every 5 seconds. Hi, Stormy. Hi, Stormy. Hi, Stormy. All these people.
Will you come on Saturday if they have a game?
I'm a credentialed member of Hockey Media now.
Yeah, you're big time.
I have been gifted by the National Hockey League a media account. Yes, as somebody who
just asking
covers the National Hockey League with depth and nuance, I would say, yeah, I'll be there on Saturday.
Okay, so then
I respect the game.
I would love your breakdown for Montreal tonight then.
Oh, okay. Well, let's go through a couple of things. So you know that I think you generally know my strategy here. Let's look at what happened last. Is it sustainable? Can you repeat all those sort of things? I will say flat out that Montreal probably should have won that game against Buffalo.
Yes.
You have 7 power plays. You convert just one of them. You have that stupid goal that bounces off the wall and behind our guy Dobish, who has been playing incredibly between the pipes. That should probably not happen. This is a Buffalo team that has scuffled with its power play, and the one time they break through, it's that. I just think you look at everything that we've seen from them in terms of shot share, the ability to generate the high danger chances, the way that Dobish has been playing, that this team is better. They should probably be in a lead in this series at this point. So let's go with the Canadiens to close this. No, excuse me, not close this thing out, but get the win here today.
I view them as having the upper hand in this game and in this series as well. Speaking of that power play, the stretch that they went on for that time where they couldn't connect was 1 of 46. It was bad. The one thing that I'll say, though, Lindy Ruff was in front of media, and he was kind of pulling a Chris Finch a little bit, insinuating that Montreal is embellishing a little bit. That's why they're getting so many calls. So I don't know if there will be more of an emphasis from the officials tonight, maybe not to be blowing the whistle as much. So that is one thing to take into consideration here. Go ahead.
Oh, no, sorry. I wanted to note that I had something to read before we got out of here.
And my last thing on this, just to go back to the support for Montreal, they outshot Buffalo 31-22 in Game 4, but Buffalo had 27 blocked shots. I think there's going to be an emphasis for Montreal specifically to try to find better shooting lanes because of how many blocks that Buffalo is getting, and they should.
Yep. All right, we close it out with this. I brought it up I believe it's a life belief that you should have. You should be punched in the face at least once in your life. Jason checks in and says over under number of times JVT has been punched in the face 6.5.
Under.
Well, so yeah, that depends. Like in a single fight, you're going to go over. But in terms of fights that like the first time I've been punched in the face, yeah, it's under. That started a fight, yeah.
So. Like you've been in like a true fight where you're getting
like fun fights and real
blows.
fights. Yeah, like fun fights and real fights, yeah. Used to have a fight club when we were in 5th grade. That was fun.
Well, nobody's supposed to talk about Fight Club.
That's right.
So that's like
I feel
literally
like statute of limitations we can talk about at this point.
That's a wrap for us today. Thanks, everybody, for hanging out. We'll be back tomorrow, same time, same place. Stick around, though. Follow the money with Mitch and Paul coming up after this.